Imagine the construction site without any cranes. It seems that this would make everything more labor-intensive, but there is no need to despair. If you don't have a crane, you can make one. So what do you need to make one? That's right, all you need is a crane. All kidding aside, I think you have probably guessed what the theme of the video is. Welcome to our channel this time. We will show you how giant machines that walk, float and fly are built and repaired. Are you interested? Then let's get started. Self-erecting tower crane. It's not just the clusters of large buildings that weave the landscape of a large city. The clusters of tower cranes that construct these buildings too. At first glance, it would seem that it would take even larger cranes to build such large cranes. But in fact, this is not the case. Take a look at the world's largest independently operating crane, the Kroll K-10000, with a height of 120 meters and a lifting load of 120 tons. There are also giant cranes that are fixed and mounted horizontally on buildings. They are built on special foundations and attached to buildings under construction. These giant cranes lift the loads needed for the construction of skyscrapers, nuclear power plants, and dams. These types of cranes build themselves. It is very practical. First they lay the foundation and build the foundations. Then they build the structure, including the multi-level tower section, the boom, which is the arm, and the cabin. This is where we need the power of its relative, the mobile crane. After this, it alone fits the parts together, and special pins, called tongues, are used to secure the crane body. And climbing is perfect for when you want to go up bit by bit as you go along in the construction. Submarine 2-in-1. Let's move the conversation from the high of the clouds to the bottom of the sea. Submarines are not just built and done with, they need to be maintained and repaired. Repairs can be periodic or to restore accidental damage. For example, the U.S. Ohio-class nuclear submarine Georgia has had some glorious moments in its nearly 30-year history, but also some embarrassing incidents in its own making. In 1986, the tugboat Sarcota got stuck in its propellers and sank. In 2010, they forgot a bolt inside a speed reducer, forcing the ship to be repaired for 3 months, which cost $2.2 million. The last incident involving Georgia dates back to 2015, when it hit a buoy in the channel and ran aground at the entrance to the Kings Bay Naval Submarine Base. It was repaired at a cost of $1 million on a dry dock at the Trident refit facility. Leaving aside the history of this submarine, I would now like to talk about another submarine. While hull deformations may be relatively common, the repair of the French Perle-class nuclear submarine was truly unique. In 2020, the Perle ended up catching fire during maintenance. The fire burned for 14 hours and the entire bow section burned up. The aft section, where the reactor was located, was unaffected. After analyzing the damage, the experts came up with their own method to save the Perle. First, they remembered the existence of the Ruby-class nuclear submarine of the same type, which had already been decommissioned. Then they cut the bow section of the Ruby and spliced it together. This operation took about a year and cost 110 million euros. After the operation, the submarine was wounded, but not killed, and retained its former name of Perle. Tire repair method. Every year billions of tires are produced worldwide and there are more than 2 trillion in total on the road in the world. That is a tremendous amount. When a tire wears out you can simply replace it, but when it costs $1,000 and it's a tire for powerful machinery that operates the mine site, it's a different story. Whenever possible, these tires are sent in for repair. The workers remove the defective parts, clean the area and fill the holes with rubber. After this, a pie-shaped structure is formed with multiple layers of cord and rubber, much like covering a wound with a bandage. But of course, much more difficult and requires responsibility. Let's not forget the sum of $1,000. By the way, what do you do with the worn tires on your car or bicycle? Write in the comments, please, we want to know. How the Falcon 9 was built. SpaceX has successfully launched the Falcon 9 several times, each time recovering the reusable rocket. By the end of the year, the company plans to complete more missions, including 2 launches of the largest rocket, the Falcon Heavy. In addition, Elon Musk's team is actively working on the design of the spacecraft and is assembling a prototype in Boca Chica, Texas. Because SpaceX is able to build so many rockets, rocket engines, rocket stages, and spacecraft are all manufactured at SpaceX's facility in Hawthorne, California. Everything is done in-house and has no contractors, thus avoiding the tight deadlines and intrigues of competitors. By assembling everything under one roof and reusing the rockets, the company is able to produce an aircraft in 2 weeks. In fact, all manufacturing processes are concentrated in the building that was originally used to assemble the Boeing fuselage. It is hard to imagine how big this is, isn't it? When everything is ready, each component is sent to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The center is miles away. Then they make a stop on their journey in McGregor, Texas, for a combustion test check on the engines. This test station operates hours a day, 6 days a week. Then they resume their journey. SpaceX currently uses 4 launch sites in California and Florida. The rocket bodies are manufactured in their hangars. Once assembled, the Falcon is sent from one side to the launch pad, where it is launched. All that is left is to recover and reuse the first stage of the rocket. So how are starships built? The method is quite different, but we will talk about that in a future video. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next video. Assembly of the R9800 excavator. The Liebherr R9800 is one of the world's largest excavators, powered by 2 engines with a power output of 3,000 kilowatts. This 800-ton giant is built for large mining installations, is 11 meters high, approximately 9 meters wide and 25 meters long. The bucket has a capacity of 47.5 cubic meters of rock. If you want to fill the bucket with Coke, you would need 2-liter plastic bottles. You may have already noticed that the Liebherr R9800 cannot be transported to another location so easily. In 2014, the vehicle was transported from France to Australia on the cargo ship to Gel and then made the 272-kilometer journey to a coal mine. Of course, it was disassembled in the process. From assembly, the tracks were placed on the rolling wheels, the body was attached, the engine was attached to the cab, and the bucket to the boom. The entire process took several days, using 3 cranes. The work was suspended for a day due to high winds. The wind speed was about 19 kilometers per hour, but it was still dangerous. A project of this magnitude requires extra care. The excavator weighs the equivalent of 162 elephants and can hold 280 ordinary tubs of water in its bucket. But in fact only minerals are loaded onto the truck at the mining site, and in practice it takes only 1.5 minutes to fill it. Construction of maritime vessels. In 2018, the largest cruise ship in the world, Symphony of the Seas, was completed at the Naval Shipyard in Saint-Nazaire, France. The ship was built by STX France for Royal Caribbean International. This giant is 362 meters long, is 32 meters longer than the famous Eiffel Tower. Assuming the tower was put on its side, it is an astonishing 18 stories high. These ships are built by welding together prefabricated sections. One by one, in the case of Symphony of the Seas, it consists of 84 such sections. But connecting all the sections is not the end of the job. Cruise ships need to be both beautiful and comfortable. The wiring installation, interior and exterior construction, attractions installation, and other details need to be checked. Only after that can you finally embark on your maiden voyage across the Mediterranean. Building a cargo ship is no easy task either. There are no swimming pools or restaurants. But that is not the beauty of this giant. Watch the assembly of the 400-meter-long Maersk Triple-way-class container ship and the welding of the hull at the shipyard in Aksang, Southjiang Province, China. It's a real masterpiece, isn't it? If it was me, I would definitely leave my like. What about you? We have reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it on the social networks.